Before we get started, I want to thank our sponsor, Wax in the City. Experience the best in class wax at Wax in the City. From flawless brows to Brazilians that wow, their hair removal experts are here to give you silky smooth skin that feels and looks absolutely amazing. All right, I'm here today with Scott. He's the president and CEO of Visit Dublin. How you doing today, Scott?
Great, Chris. I appreciate you checking in. How are you?
Doing awesome, doing awesome. I'm excited to talk to you today. I've known you for a few years now, since back with my time with the Marriott, and always been impressed with your work and what you've done. So, wanted to have a conversation about that and really talk about Dublin as a whole today. So, before we get started, I think people would love to know a little bit more about you. So, Scott, President and CEO of Visit Dublin, how did you get here? If you give me the 10,000 foot view.
I'll give you a quick overview. So I've been around a while. Actually, it's funny because I talk to people how they kind of fell into the hospitality industry, and back in the day there weren't a lot of hospitality programs in college. I mean, you weren't really groomed that way. You just kind of fell upon it. And I wanted to be a sports writer. I went to Ohio State. I was the sports editor of the Lander at Ohio State. Moved to Washington. Wanted to be a sports writer, and the first job I think I made like $12,000 a year. I'm like, this isn't good. So we need to figure something else out. So luckily, I just happened to have a PR marketing background. My first job in DC was with the U.S. Travel Association, which is a major umbrella organization for U.S. travel. And from there, I moved down to Kissimmee, St. Cloud, the CVB there. Went to Tallahassee for a while, and I just wanted to get back home to Columbus, and I made it back here, worked at some agencies. And then before Visit Dublin, I was the PR marketing person for the state of Ohio's tourism office here in downtown Columbus for the state. And I, found this job. I've been here almost 23 years.
Wow.
So I've seen a lot of huge change, not only in the state of Ohio and the region, especially the city of Dublin as well. It's been a great change. It's amazing what we've kind of evolved to over the years.
That's absolutely awesome. I think it's you throw New Orleans in there, and I feel like you and I would have crossed paths a few times. Started in DC, ended up in New Orleans, Florida, and then back up here to Columbus. So that's I understand the journey.
For
So
sure.
you're with Visit Dublin, Scott. Tell me about Visit Dublin. Tell me about the organization and what you guys do in the community.
I appreciate it. Yeah, we are a destination marketing organization. Obviously, our role is to promote, sell, showcase the city of Dublin on a global stage. We want to promote and get visitors to come here to the city of Dublin worldwide. We're a marketing and sales organization. Those are our two major functions we do. On the sales end, we're working to get conferences, trade shows, athletic events, bus tours, other kind of leisure travel, whatever it might be. And then on the marketing side, we're trying to promote and sell the city of Dublin as a destination worldwide as well. So we have a lot of different unique campaigns that we're doing all the time, across the world. We had a fun one that we just did last year that won a bunch of awards. We came up with a crazy idea on St. Patrick's Day to offer free pints of beer to anyone in Dublin, Ireland that wanted to come back over to Dublin, Ohio to experience the real St. Patrick's Day. So
Really?
kind of a tongue-in-cheek kind of thing. What we did, we actually had billboards erected in downtown Dublin, Ireland, offering free pints of beer to here in Dublin, Ohio. And obviously, it was a PR stunt, I guess you could say. I mean, we didn't anticipate droves of people come from Dublin, Ireland. But we actually had 10 people come over. Now they were coming,
Wow.
I think, to the States anyway, but they kind of diverted their route, stopped in Dublin, Ohio. But PR wise, the campaign was in the New York Post, AP, bunch of wire services, Ireland. I mean, we had over a couple million impressions as well. So, those kind of things. We're just trying to raise awareness of the city as a whole and the profile of the city. I mean, as a tourism expert, and all your reader and listeners know, but there's a huge economic impact to travel and tourism that people don't really understand. It's more than just coming to a hotel and hanging out for a couple of days. I mean, those folks are spending a lot of money at our restaurants, our shops. They're creating jobs. They're creating awareness. So it's a huge economic engine here in the city of Dublin and very important to our economy.
Absolutely. And so, obviously, for anybody who doesn't know, Dublin, Ohio, we've got a rich Irish flavor to us here. A couple of big events out there that people may or may not know about. We have Great Irish Festival here. The Memorial Golf Tournament was in Dublin. So we have some very big events here, but what kind of things do you all do to promote really the space in between, right? Because obviously those big events are really easy to wrap onto. What are you guys doing in the in between?
Yeah, great question. I mean, it's great to have kind of those landmark and signature events that we can kind of promote. And to be honest, I mean, the Memorial Tournament's, I think, coming up on its 50th year. Jack Nicklaus, and we don't have to do a lot of work. We just need to keep out of the way, not screw it up, and to get the word out for that. So, I mean, we don't do a lot with that, obviously, with their great partners. Same with the Irish Festival. But I mean, the product here over the years has been immense. I mean, we have a new downtown Dublin area called Bridge Park. It was a $400 million investment that continues to flourish. And it's interesting, that destination in general, we still do have a historic Dublin area that really thrived. It was 3 or 4 blocks with a lot of restaurants and shops. But 7, 8 years ago, Crawford Hoying, a huge investor in town, decided to, across the river to build a new investment. It's called Bridge Park. And the city, in its infants strategies, decided to build a huge pedestrian bridge to connect the two. And it's actually the largest. I don't want to mess this up, but it's actually the largest S-shaped single level S bridge in the world. So it connects the historic district to Bridge Park, and Bridge Park, for those that aren't familiar, it's a mixed use development, very walkable. I think we have over 25 to 30 restaurants. We have several hotels over there, several condos, apartment complexes. We have event space. We have a tremendous riverside crossing park right there, a gathering spot for residents and visitors. So the product itself here in Dublin, to answer your question in a long-winded way, there's much more than just signature events here. The Memorial Tournament Irish Festival, there's truly something to do here year-round. Now in Ohio, like you said, I think we talked a little bit earlier, it's a bit of a challenge in Ohio where we're a little bit hamstrung with the weather here, and we don't have a lot of mountains. We're not a big ski resort, so we have to be a little more on the creative side to get people to come here. So, we're doing a Love in Dublin romantic campaign to get people to do some things, for the winter. We're really working hard to get an indoor athletic facility in town. And that is something that no matter what happens, if it's the economy's tanked, if there's COVID, people still travel for sports, especially youth sports. So that's something we're working really hard to create here in the coming years as well.
So, I mean, if everybody who followed that, right? I mean, Dublin is effectively two sides, right? We've got Old Town Dublin, we've got Bridge Park on either side of the Scioto River, this massive, beautiful bridge connecting the two. And the city keeps finding ways to reinvest, reinvigorate, and create new opportunities throughout the city. It seems like every time I look, there's a new announcement going out about, this business is coming here, this business is opening there, this park is opening. What kind of things are coming down the road for Dublin that you know about?
Yeah, I think one of the more exciting things, talking kind of on the sports theme, last year the city made its largest purchase in its history, a $44 million purchase something called Sports Ohio and several other parcels of space on the West Innovation, the west side of town. And the Sports Ohio has always been traditionally, it's been around for 20, 25 years, privately owned. And they have a golf range. They have 3 or 4 indoor facilities with, turf for soccer and lacrosse, those kind of things, and a lot of outdoor soccer fields as well. And it's right adjacent to Derry Fields, which is a park owned by the city of Dublin with a lot of soccer fields as well. So this is going to be turned into a massive, one area kind of facility that is going to be not only for local residents, but it's going to attract, many great events regionally and nationally as well. So it's in the infancy stages. I think the city is actually looking for a management company right now to run it. And again, I think it's not only for visitors, but it's a huge amenity for local residents as well, because there's so much limited space right now for athletics and wellness. And I think that's an important area for the city to do as well. I think another cool thing coming on is in the Bridge Park area. There's a unique collaboration between Crawford Hoying and a restaurant tour called Cameron Mitchell, which is a national, firm or national company, and they have a lot of great restaurants across the country. They are building a hotel, very high-end hotel, 120 rooms or so. There'll be several restaurants as part of that facility as well. I believe there's some condos. There's some meeting space. So that in itself would be a destination, but attached to and across from as part of the Bridge Park development, it's just going to make that facility in that area that more attractive nationally to folks.
Well, I think that's huge, right? And one of the things I love is that, obviously hospitality and tourism is going to play a huge part, whether it's all of the businesses surrounding and supporting the sports complexes. I think anybody in hospitality knows, like you said, people travel for sports, youth sports, people are on the road all the time for that. It's going to bring a huge economic impact. And then same thing, anytime you introduce a new hotel, new destination in combination with what's already out there, I think that's absolutely huge. One of the things that a lot of people are struggling with out there, and I know you probably feel this as well when you talk to all the other vendors, uh, staffing and labor seem to be a huge piece of what limits growth in a lot of markets, right? One of the things I was really surprised to hear about is that Visit Dublin, the city, has been able to work with the local high schools to be able to develop a travel and tourism program. Is that right?
Yeah, we're excited about it. And it came out of COVID actually, and it's been a couple years come, but we came out of COVID and obviously workforce issues, to your point, was huge in our industry. I mean, we lost a large majority of our folks in our industry because the restaurants were open, hotels, etc. And when everyone came back online, we were struggling on exactly how to do it. Some good things came out of it. If you go to restaurants now, you can pay your bill through your phone now to limit interaction with waitresses and waiters. But I think one of the things we asked our restaurants and our hotels, what can we do to help you? And they also, number one thing was workforce. We need people, we need help. So we did the job boards and all those kind of things that typical people did, but we were trying to think, okay, what can we do long term? Maybe it's not going to help tomorrow, but down the road it can. I think there's always been a perception of our industry over the years. It's just low paying jobs. It's very, there's not a lot of opportunities, and nothing could be further from the truth. I mean, there's so many opportunities in our industry. If it's finance, marketing, sales, customer service, and go on and on and on. It's not just cooks and waitresses and waiters. There's much more to the industry than that. So we went to our high schools and we were lucky to have representation on our board from the schools. And they already had something in place called an academy system. And what it was is, it was for juniors and seniors in high school. And kids could take 2 or 3 periods a day and they could focus on certain, I guess, future jobs that they wanted to pursue in college. Things like, there was an aviation academy, there was a business academy, there was a high tech academy. So there were 10 or 11 of these academies, and all our three kids did the academies, loved it. And I always thought there was a way there, we need to have a hospitality academy to do this. So we worked with the schools couple years the good thing is that all our industry could not have been more excited about the opportunity. I mean, they were looking beyond just how to fill their jobs tomorrow. They're thinking, okay, how can we do this big picture down the road? All our hotels jumped on, our restaurants, our events. We worked with Ohio State, who has a tremendous hospitality management program, Columbus State, they're part of it. So long story short, 3 to 4 years getting it in place. It went online this fall. And it's the Dublin Travel and Tourism Academy. It has initial about 10 students. You have to walk before you run. So I'm sure once kids hear about it and start talking to their peers, it'll be popular. But the very cool thing, Chris, about this program is it's not just in a classroom. We're taking them on the road and get seeing firsthand our industry. So one week they spent at a hotel, learning all aspects of a hotel. Another week they went to a restaurant to learn about the restaurant. They're going next, I believe, next month to Port Columbus International Airport to learn about
Wow.
airport and how that all works down there. They spent some time with us here at the CVB and Visit Dublin. So there is like very limited class experience, but it's more hands-on, getting them out of the classroom to see exactly firsthand what our industry is all about. And we've had a lot of inquiries across the country from other schools and DMOs and others asking how we pulled it off and what the formula is. So I'm hoping this maybe is the first step for all of us to kind of begin to grow and get the misperception of our industry being just low-paying jobs.
I think that's huge. Workforce development is massive, and usually hospitality businesses have to go it alone. There'll be some programs out there, they're not generally focused on the industry. And I think I do love the fact that you're starting in high school, right? This is a career path that can take people much farther than I think even they realize they can go. So I think it's great you're getting a chance to show them the full breadth of the industry. Besides workforce development, what other trends are you seeing in the hospitality industry in our market that you're calling out, you're paying attention to, you're identifying with you and your team?
Yeah, I think it's events seem to be big in the last couple of years. I mean, events have always been big, but I think people want that unique, different experience. Our city council folks are working on creating a new holiday market. I don't know if you've seen those kind of internationally in Germany and such. Bringing that here during the wintertime in our Riverside Crossing Park area. So we've been working hard on that and hopefully pull off that in the next year or so. And again, that feeds our industry as well. I mean, our greatest time of need for our industry is, as we mentioned, December, January, February,
Right.
because of the weather. So having a holiday market, something that'll drive business, drive revenue is important to us. The city last year began create a summertime series that's really down in the heart of Dublin, the Riverside Crossing Park, with movies in the park and yoga and whatever it might be. So we're doing what we can to help create. We don't really do events ourselves. That's not really in our wheelhouse. We promote them, but we definitely are trying to step out of our comfort level and help create events that not only attract local residents but visitors as well. I think we've seen a lot of interest, and I think this is probably more of a national trend as well. There's a lot more solo remote work travel
Hmm.
going on these days. I think that's probably a COVID related thing that came out of that. So, we're working on our marketing strategies to kind of cater to those markets as well. And we talked earlier about sports. And that is, if you ask me 10 years, 20 years, 25 years ago, sports travel, youth travel would be in the top three no matter what. I think we're working with that. And not only that, just sports event travel. People want to experience events, one in its concerts, whatever it might be. We are, 20 minutes outside of Columbus, Ohio, which is the capital of the state of Ohio. I think it's 13th, 14th largest city in the country. So it's a major region, metropolitan area with obviously Ohio State, but we have a couple professional teams as well.
Right.
World-class arena down there that attracts all kinds of women's Final Fours last year, the U.S. Ice Figure Skating Championships here. So it's not just all about Dublin. I think we're doing everything we can to kind of promote the region as a whole. And we've always used kind of a hub and spoke kind of mentality. I
Right.
mean, we're not saying you never have to leave Dublin. I mean, obviously, you want you stay here and come to our restaurants or hotels, but there's so much more to do, great things to do in our region that people can experience as well. So that's a positive. We always try to promote the region as well. So those are just a couple of trends that we're seeing top of mind.
Okay. Okay. So if I look at it from the other side, as somebody who's about to open a business, small business here in the area, what are some of the things that business owners can do to be able to help you promote Dublin and the surrounding area as a whole? What are some of the things we can do, whether it's help promote, service? What does that look like from you?
Yeah, I think we have a lot of partners. Not we don't really have a membership program, but a partnership. And I think our greatest benefit is just engagement. Being able to, I mean, it's pretty self-serving for us to see how great Dublin is. I mean, people expect it. That's what they pay us to do. But when you have someone else share your social content or share the experiences of your business that you're opening there in Dublin and sharing what the residents can benefit and the uniqueness of what the experience can be through your business, I think that goes a long way and it brings a uniqueness to it and validates a little bit too of it. So I think that's the biggest thing is just, not so much working with us, but working together and, sharing content and pushing out messages and those kind of things. I think obviously workforce development's a huge thing. I mean, we're all in the same boat on that. So, whatever we can do to kind of, promote the importance of those jobs is an important thing as well. But I think regionally too. I mean, I think it's try to get away from, and I think we struggle sometimes to get out of our little bubble here in Dublin and see the bigger picture. Visitors don't have any idea where city boundaries stop. They don't know if Hotel A is in Dublin or Hotel A is in Hilliard. They don't care. They don't know. So I think what we can do as a region in a collaborative way, working together, finding ways to promote the region as a whole, promote the state as a whole, in many cases, promote the country as a whole, and for international travel. I think working together, taking down any kind of territorial walls we might have, and just collaboration, I think is another real key element that a lot of small businesses can really benefit from.
That's outstanding. And I think everybody has to do their part, right? I think that's where we all end up winning when it comes to being able to develop our market. So, Scott, I mean, you've been here for 23 years, in this role. One of the questions when I was talking to my wife and I said I was gonna, interview you, she's like, "Oh, you got to ask him if he had one day to spend in Dublin, what would he do?" Right? Because she always loves getting ideas, right? So, if you were in the market for one day, top to bottom, what would you do?
That's a tough one. I would say from active, in fact, we just downsized and moved to the Bridge Park area. So we love it down there. There are so many trails in Dublin that connect. I think there's over 100 miles of trails that you connect. So you can ride your bike, you can walk, you can inline skate, whatever you want to do for a long time and just see a lot of different things. So I think that's a cool park. There's a lot of cool parks in town. My favorite is Kiwanis Park, which is right on the side of the river here in Down. It's hidden away. A lot of people don't know about that one. I think the restaurant scene is unlike any community this size that I've ever been to. Just the opportunities from high end to middle of the road. We have our favorites. I think if the Cameron Mitchell restaurants, you can't go wrong with those, but we really like kind of the local ones like the Dublin Village Tavern here in town. It's been here since I've been here. I mean, I've it's been next to my office for 23 years, and I can't imagine how much money I've spent over there over the years just walking over for lunch, getting stuff. So, and the chowder is amazing. So, those kind of like local flavor type things. The arts in our community is very underrated. We have a huge art and public places inventory, almost 60 pieces. And one that's always unique to people is our big field of corn, which, it's hard to communicate verbally in a podcast, but just have your, if you guys are bored, just Google field of corn in Dublin, Ohio, and it'll give you a little chuckle. It's very cool. And leather, there's all kinds of art things to enjoy as well. And we're big happy hour fans too. So a lot of great happy hours in historic Dublin. And I just want to talk about downtown Dublin too. The city as a whole, in the perimeter area, a lot of great restaurants over there. Napa is a great restaurant. And we talked a little bit earlier about talking about new developments. One of the mainstays of the Memorial Tournament for years and years and years has been the Bogey Inn. And that's been there since I was in college, 30 or 40 years. It's been there a long time. It was always kind of a bar restaurant. And unfortunately, they closed those doors for the last time this year. And we just heard this week or last week that a new developer's coming in and resurrecting the Bogey Inn to make it even bigger and better at the same location. So, that has always been an exciting spot for my wife and I to go to as well.
That's
Just a few. I could go on and on, but I don't want to put your listeners to sleep.
I think that's great. It just showcases how diverse the city actually is. And I think that's, if you take this away and you look at your area anywhere in the country, I'm sure these same experiences exist. So, hearing what we're talking about here and being able to really synthesize that in your local market, understand that it can have a huge impact. If you really look at every single piece of this, whether you're marketing, whether you're doing creative things like marketing your namesake in another country to get some good play out of that, workforce development, making sure you take a real holistic approach to it, and then, obviously being able to speak well of and extend your local brand out even further, whether it's the businesses, whether it's you. I think that's absolutely awesome. And I think hopefully everybody who's listening to this is getting some ideas in their local markets. I know there are a lot of destination management organizations out there that do an absolutely phenomenal job. So hopefully everybody's starting to think, man, if I don't know who the Scott of my local market is, I probably need to go out and figure that out because that person is going to make a huge impact and a huge difference and has a potential to really make a difference in my business. So thank you very much for that.
No, thank you. Couldn't agree more. Thank you.
So, as we wrap things up, I always like to give people a little something to think about, give back a couple of questions from somebody who's obviously doing very well here. I like to focus on kind of learning and growth. So, one of the questions I always like asking is, what are you doing personally to learn and grow yourself?
You can never stop learning and grow. I think that's the key. I mean, it's, social media in my world where there was no internet, there was no cell phone in college. There was no map. We used old triptychs to get around. So I think that's what I'm constantly trying to learn and keep up with the social media world. And so we hire a lot of smart people, smarter than me in that realm, but I have to know it. I have to understand it from a strategic perspective. So, every day I'm trying to learn something. I mean, there's no way you can stop learning. And I think that's the great thing about this industry that we're both in is every day is different. It truly is. I mean, I know that's kind of a common thing people say in their professions, but truly every day is different. And, I think that's the cool thing about this, that you need to learn and understand the opportunities. There's different things coming at us every day that we need to address and understand and promote. And we're in a fun industry. I mean, what's better than traveling and eating and going to a happy hour, going to an event or whatever it might be? So I think we're all about fun, which is great. So I think, constantly I go to several seminars a year. Any kind of free podcast or webinar that I can find, I jump on and try to learn as well. A lot of our national organizations do it. So it's a constant learning event for sure, 24/7. You just can't stop.
Anything in particular, any podcasts jump out to you, any books, any sites, any apps, anything you follow that stand out to you?
Yeah, there's a couple. I think that research is boring, but Longwoods International does a great job. There are kind of an industry's research arm. And they do a lot of forecasting, projections. Amir there does a great job on a monthly basis, kind of sending out informations. I mean, and they'll do stuff like, for the election, is travel going to go up and down in the election and regionally what will happen? Obviously, COVID, they were huge into that. So they do forecasting and I learn a lot from those folks as well. That's Longwoods International. That's important. I think just working with whoever your network is might be. I mean, I have a small network of obviously CVBs are, you can have a CVB our size, and you have Las Vegas and Orlando.
Right.
Our
Right.
challenges may be a little bit different. So I have a network of colleagues that are kind of similar to Dublin that I work with and talk and bounce ideas off and share challenges with. Finding those folks, there's no better educational tool than your peers. Everyone's come across something at one time, and it's beneficial to kind of bounce ideas off someone you trust and someone that will help you out. So finding a network of folks, I think, is really important too. I think that's probably my biggest go-to.
All right. Absolutely. So I've got two more quick questions. One,
Yeah.
what's the best piece of advice you've been given?
Best piece of advice I'd be given. I think professionally was, especially when it comes to CVs and DMOs, is go to a place that you truly love and want to promote. So in Dublin, I've lived here for 23 years. I got this job. I moved here. We raised our three kids. We're born here. We still live here. This is my home. This is my passion. I advocate if I, for whatever reason, didn't take this job or went someplace else, I would still advocate for Dublin. So find something that you're passionate about, especially in our world, find a destination or a city you're passionate about and go there. I think that's what we found. I was fortunate to find Dublin. And I think, any job before this, I had 2 or 3 years. I was bouncing around left and
Right.
right. And then I found this and, I found my passion. And I think, I found it was my home. And, every day it's fun to promote my hometown. So it's cool in that way. I think that was a great piece of advice that I've always kind of lived to as well.
That's absolutely outstanding. I think anybody in the hospitality industry can empathize with the, moving till you find something that, really sticks with you. So I think everybody here gets that. The last one is if you could go back in time and give yourself advice, what advice would you give yourself?
Oh, I would say don't stress out about the end result. I was sitting in college after I graduated college. I was so focused on career and getting going and working 80 hours a week and just trying to make a difference, which is great, but you have to, stop and smell the flowers once in a while and enjoy life. I think I probably would have traveled a little bit right after college. I told my kids, you have your whole life to do stuff. You're going to have responsibility. You're going to have family. You're going to have kids. You're going to have mortgages, car payments. Just take a minute before you dive into that life journey just to enjoy life for a minute. I think that's probably something I would tell myself. It's maybe take a year, just go enjoy life and then get into this serious stuff.
I think that's a phenomenal piece of advice. I look back and think, man, if I wasn't working 80 hours a week, I probably could have seen a lot of really cool places. And I think that's why a lot of people get into the hospitality industry. So, great advice to make sure everybody keeps that perspective.
Yeah, appreciate it.
All right. Well, Scott, thank you very much for being here today. If people were looking to find out more about Visit Dublin, where do they go?
Yeah, go to our website, obviously visit dublinohio.com. Everything's there, our social media channels. So, we're on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. So we're there. Maybe TikTok, but not for sure how much longer that'll last, obviously, with everything going on. But no, we're there, accessible. If anyone, the listeners, have any questions on Dublin or coming into town, please shoot me an email, and I'm happy to help in any way I can. And I appreciate the opportunity to chat with me and talking about Dublin.
All right, Scott. Well, I really enjoyed it. Thank you very much for this. And, until next time, my friend, have a great day.
You too, Chris. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Hospitality Leaders Podcast. Thank you again to our sponsor, Waxing the City, and please make sure you like and subscribe.